Hello, YouTube. I'm back. No, I'm not. Just a guest star.
It's been a long time since you saw this face on this channel.
Remember me? You're not Simon, you stupid baby.
Don't go breaking my heart.
I couldn't. No, but they did break our hearts. It's not a good sign.
This is my friend Sarah. I have known her basically half of my life. Sarah is today sharing with you her story of having a baby through IVF without a partner involved.
It's very intimidating with the lights. I'm nervous, okay?
Sarah quit YouTube. I know a lot of you might have been subscribed to her in the past. She's quit, and she doesn't really want to answer questions on social media about any of this stuff. But if you have a particular question, you can comment it down below and she will reply in the comments. Yeah, I'm just kind of going to be asking questions because a lot of you had questions for Sarah when she first offered to share this story. The only other person who wants to have a word with you lives in this box. This is the in-paid partnership fairy box. I just quite enjoy pressing fairies as a pastime, but you know, she's still quite useful, so I'm keeping her fed and watered for now. Hello. I've waited for this. I get to share one of the biggest lessons that I have learned in my life, not just in here, but for like 87 years before that. I'm really old. There is no one right way to do life, especially when it comes to things like starting a family. So whether you're wanting to do that with your partner or on your own, or you're still trying to figure out if you want to do it at all, these are massive decisions. They can feel really overwhelming, and sometimes it just really helps to have somebody unbiased to talk to. If she'd even let me out of this box, like I would love to talk to you about it, but she likes to keep me in here. I, as a fairy, would encourage you to speak to somebody who's trained to help you untangle your thoughts and just to figure out what is truly right for you. And that is why I am very proud to be letting you know about BetterHelp, who are the paid partner of this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it makes therapy accessible. You just need to fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a credentialed therapist who suits your needs. You can message them anytime and you can schedule weekly sessions by phone or video chat, whatever works for you. It is a flexible and affordable service, so you can fit it around a busy life, whether you're juggling IVF appointments or career stuff or just the general chaos of adulthood. If you've been feeling a bit stuck or you're facing a huge crossroads in life like this, like, should I have a baby on my own? Therapy can be life-changing. It's been life-changing enough for me just for the day-to-day stuff. So yeah, as a BetterHelp client and customer for many years, I cannot speak more highly of them. And I've got 10% off via my link, which is in her description box. It'll get you 10% off your first month of therapy. My therapist, unfortunately, like Melanie, has to like hold the laptop up above this box, and it's a little bit awkward, but you know, we get the job done. Just gonna get into my evening cookie position. So sometimes she gives me a cookie before we do our therapy. Thanks, babe. Anyway, so let's get this chat on the road. I'm gonna sit this way because it just feels weird.
Just ignore my child. She was supposed to nap during this, but
she's such a beautiful, chill, happy little baby. She's now 4.5 months old. If you want to give just a little bit of background first as to your age that you were when you made this decision and what your life was looking like at that time and the kind of things that led up to making the decision. I feel like I'm like
we're ignoring you.
My like Oprah.
Yeah. Or like Drew Barrymore, because she gets up real close.
Tell me why you did it. You didn't want a man to give you permission to have a child.
Well, yeah, so technically I first kind of had the decision in the back of my head when I was like 29. I came out of a 4-year relationship and I always wanted to have kids, and I basically said to myself, if I don't find a partner by the time I'm 30, I'm going to kind of go do IVF. So it was always in the back of my head. Now I got into a relationship before I was 30, so then that went on. So that came to the back of my head again. But then that relationship ended. Unfortunately, we had lost a baby. And, that's kind of when I decided that I really wanted to have my own child. I was ready. I felt ready. Which before I never knew, like, am I ready now or can I wait for a few years? But I was ready then. But the relationship didn't work out. We wanted different things at that time in our lives. So we just parted ways. So to me, I was like, I didn't want to get into another relationship and then, you know, because that was another 4-year relationship, and then what if that happened again? I was thinking in my head, it wouldn't be, you know, late 30s to early 40s maybe before I had my first child, and to me that was too long to wait. So I was like, the time is now. I kind of had the feeling of being a mother, even for very briefly. So I was kind of just, I had tunnel vision, to be honest, and I was like, that's what I want to go for, and, you know, I'm not in a relationship, so IVF is kind of the next option.
And you were 33 when
I
you
was
kind
about
of
33 when that I made that decision to actually go for it, not just think about it. It's like, no, I'm actually going to do this.
Sorry, I'm moving baby so we can bounce her in the little baby Bjorn bouncer. But so firstly, I will say this, Sarah always wanted babies. From like when I first met her, she talked about having babies, and I remember at my hen, we all were saying, you would be the first to have babies. We were you were dying to have kids in your 20s. You always said you wanted to have kids young.
Especially because I wanted multiples. I didn't want it to be 36, 37. I have nieces and nephews who, like, the oldest one is turning 8, the youngest one is 3. So, you know, if I think like 4 years down the line, that the youngest one will be 7. And I really want cousins to grow up with each other and play with each other and things like that. And I know as you get older, like some of my cousins, there's a big gap and we're still really close. But as kids, I want them to, like, know each other and play with each other and things like that. So that was in my mind. And then there was obviously our group started having babies then. And again, I wanted them all to grow up together. And yeah, because I want multiples, I didn't want to start late. I was like, I wanted to have kids when I was 25. So I was already like nearly 10 years like
we were naming our babies back in our 20s on this channel, like.
Yeah, so like I felt like it was just time. I'm just fed up of kind of waiting for someone to tell me when I can have a child. Now I was in 2 relationships. One definitely wanted to have kids, and we talked about it a lot, but he was in college, so we couldn't do that. So like, it wasn't like he was saying, no, we're not having kids. He was just kind of like, we're not having kids now. And then, you know, then the thing happened, you know, I lost my baby. And then we kind of realized we're in different places. So, you know, that was another thing. That was another 4 years. So I was kind of just gotten to the point where I was like, I don't want to get into a relationship where someone says I'm not ready, or, oh yeah, I'll be at this time. I kind of was like, well, when do I get to say when I have a child?
Yeah. It always seems to so often be on the man's terms. Like, I know we need a sperm to have a baby, right? And we're going to get into that, how that happened. But yeah, like, why do we feel like we can't decide that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of, and I just remember thinking, I was just so proud of you for making that choice, and so just enamored by how you were just like, right, I'm putting what I want first. Like, I'm gonna go after the thing that I want, and no one's gonna stand in my way. And I was just like, oh, yeah, because I've had a lot of you reach out in this situation, and yeah, when it came to the decision to pursue IVF, where were you at in terms of like career? And at that point, I don't think you'd bought your house, and I don't, like, before you decided, where were you at? Paint a little picture.
So, well, at the time, so when I first found out I was pregnant, when I was with the partner, I was like, I need to get a house. I need to, you know, get a secure place for my baby to grow up. So I started looking, and I found a place, and after, you know, I lost the baby, I knew I wanted to go for like IVF. So I was like, I still need the house. So I had just bought the house.
And you did that by yourself. Like,
yeah.
That is amazing. Like, especially in this, you know, economy, and this, like, Sarah is amazing at saving, I will say. Like, you've always been really good with money. Have any tips for people who are like, I need to buy something, but I'm on my own and, you know, one income? Like, what would your like best advice be if it was like your friend asking you? Budget.
Just like, what I used to do I still do it every month. I write out what my take home pay is, and then what I can put aside for, like, you know, first do the bills, how much you put away for food, and then it's just how much could I afford, you know, to put into savings. And, you know, a lot of it was during COVID, to be fair, because I wasn't going out, so I was able to put loads of money in for a deposit. But it's just basically, I put in pretty much the max amount that I probably could, and then had a little bit for like leisurey stuff. So I was a bit strict in that sense. So I probably wouldn't recommend that, because that it can be very limiting, because then, you know, you feel like you can't do certain things because you're just like, oh, well, I want to put that on savings, and you feel bad when you take things out of savings. But I just went a bit mental with it, but it obviously worked out. But
Yeah.
now I'm called tight. I'm tight with my money. I'm not. I just, I know what I want, and I put it towards that rather than impulse buy.
I prefer the term frugal.
So I signed the contract for the house, and I think I had my first consultation with the IVF before I moved in. So basically, in my career, I was just joined a new company in the August before. So this is like coming up to January, where I was kind of like going to the consultants and talking about IVF that as an option. So I was only relatively new. But by that point, or by the time I would be getting pregnant, I would be able to be entitled to maternity pay with the company. I was only had to be there for 6 months. But I could see that my career is going to progress, because I had a really good line manager. Like, they want to push me to get promotion, like pretty much straight away when you start. Is like, you need to hit these things so you can get into the next step, and then he's always pushed me. So I knew that I'd be in a good position, that I would be growing, so I would get, you know, higher salaries and things like that. So I knew it was only up from there, really.
Yeah. Did you give that a lot of consideration before making the decision, like not just kind of security, like financial security and stuff like that, but also I remember someone asking, did you feel like you had to have the village in place beforehand? Because so Sarah is from Dublin and lives in Northern Ireland, and a lot of your family live here and friends and stuff like that. However, you do have a sister up in Northern Ireland. When you were kind of even factoring in buying your house and like with your job and all that, how important was that? Or were you kind of just like, I'll figure that out when I get there? Like, which kind of was it?
A bit of both, to be honest. Like, I was very naive. You know, I knew it was going to be hard having a kid, but I was like, it'll be fine. You know, my sister had told me, like, you know, I'd need her a lot in the first few months, but she was studying for an exam and things like that. So she's like, you know, the earlier I have the baby, the better, because, you know, then she'd be focused on her exams. And I said, sure, it'd be grand. Like, yeah, you can do what you can. You know, I'm making this decision, so it's fine. I really, really, really did need her. And now, in fairness, she was there for the first 3 months. Like, she was brilliant. But I definitely underestimated how much support you actually do need. Even just someone handing you some food.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize how much I'd appreciate that, someone just handing food. So my advice on that, if you are thinking about doing it alone, have things lined up before you have the baby. So like every week, or every
Somewhere
day you'll
to
have
be.
somewhere to be, or someone to visit you.
Yeah.
I did have something in place for the first 3 weeks. I had my mum, one of my friends came up, and then I stayed here.
Yeah.
Like all consecutively. But
I
then-
loved that because she was so tiny. When you think of needing help with the baby, really what you end up needing is help with you, because you are so kind of glued, because Sarah's breastfeeding and stuff like that, and you're very tethered to when they need to feed. Like, someone else can't just breastfeed them for you, which makes it very difficult, and which is why I think, like, because you're making the switch to formula, like that will help immensely, because you don't have like a partner around and stuff like that, just to have a bit more freedom. But yeah, when she stayed here, I was just kind of like, right, I'm just going to make sure you're fed and watered, and if you need like me to clean things for her and that kind of thing, and just having someone to talk to.
Yeah. That's a big thing as well, because you're alone with a baby all day, and you think like, oh, it'll be fine. You don't need someone to talk to. You kind of do. Like, you end up going insane. As I say to her and sing to her, she's probably just thinking, what is going on? Isn't that right?
So we'll talk a good bit about kind of what it's been like since the birth, but with the process of IVF, what does that look like when there's no one kind of else involved and things like that? Like, just for people who have no idea what that even is, or how to go about it. Like, how many meetings is involved, or is it sore? Is it emotional? Is it like taxing on your body? That kind of stuff.
For me, I had a really good experience. You have to get bloods, so that's usually like nearly the first thing that you do, because you have to check your levels and stuff, and then you'll have a consultation, so to talk about, you know, your fertility, basically. So I did that, and then I found another clinic that was a little bit cheaper, and I just got a better sense from them, because they did a free consultation with a nurse. So you get an hour with a nurse. She tells you the whole process, and you can ask any questions you like. I really like that because, you know, it's a big decision, and, you know, having to pay for just talking to someone, it just seems mad. But I like the fact that they kind of offer that for free. So I was like, okay, that's amazing. And I just got a good sense of them, so I just ditched the other place. I was just really happy with this place. So yeah, you get your bloods done, and they do recommend some like scans. So there's one called a Hycosi scan. So it basically scans your entire womb, your ovaries, and everything, and just checking like if there's any, you know, cysts or, you know, anything, just being thorough. You don't have to do it, but they really recommend it so they can kind of tell what your chances are. So you kind of get a few bloods done, that Hycosi scan, and then you talk to the consultant, and it was a lovely experience because he was so nice, he was so understanding. When I said, like, he asked me why I was going for this, and I explained, I went into the backstory and everything. And he was just so supportive, and he was, you know, I said at one point, I know this might be silly, you know, because I'm doing it alone. And he stopped me right there and he said, that word is very triggering for me. It's like, you have friends and family that love you. And I was like, yeah. I was like, you're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
And that just, it's getting emotional. And it just made me feel like this guy actually cares.
Yeah.
You know, and he...
wasn't judging you.
No, he wasn't judging me at all. And he was saying he said, even just coming for this consultation, you were so brave.
Yeah.
And it just, and like, I wanted to go for a more expensive treatment. And he recommended, like, that, you know, I wouldn't recommend that. You know, I think this is best for you. And that also made me realize he's not in this, he probably is in it for money for, you know, to a certain extent, but he actually just cares.
Yeah.
So I just
likes his job.
Yeah, likes his job and wants the best success rate and wants people to be happy and whatever. So I felt really comfortable with the place. So after that consultation, he basically just said, like I said, I wanted to get pregnant as soon as possible, especially because I was still probably quite fertile because I lost the baby. So I wanted to get in with that 6-month window. So he said, well, if you want to get pregnant in the next cycle, buy sperm now.
Wow.
So you have to go onto the European Sperm Bank. So it's completely separate to the clinic.
This is all fascinating to me. Like, tell them everything about this. Because when you first told me about this, I was like, this is amazing that you can do this.
Yeah, so you just go onto the European Sperm Bank. You go through all the profiles. You look at like
dating.
Basically, yeah. You're basically trying to find the best matches.
What way does it break it up? Like, what kind of information does it give you about this particular sperm?
Okay. Well, it gives them like their ethnicity, their brief like health things, you know, color eyes, color hair, color skin, you know, what they're interested in, like are as well, and you can listen to their voice.
Oh wow!
You can see their baby pictures. You can't see any like real life pictures, but you can.
Baby pictures is brilliant because like it help you better picture your baby pictures blended with their baby pictures.
Yeah. And you get a brief history on their family health history and things like that.
Is there much about their childhood?
Not a huge amount. I guess it's how much they want to divulge. So they might say, you know, a lot of them will say the reasons why they wanted to donate. And there was a few people who were like, oh, you know, I just want to help other families, you know, like, you know, become a family.
Yeah.
And then there's other people.
I want to spread my seed. Just want some money.
I think the donor that I picked had said that his mom was a nurse in IVF, and he just knows how important it is. And
that's lovely.
He was a really positive. I could just get it from this profile. He was a really positive and happy person.
Sarah's baby is a clone of her. It's so funny. Like, your baby pictures could be her.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. So I didn't need the sperm. But yeah, so you do get a good bit of information. But you can spend like hours going through it. But eventually I picked this guy because he was really into movies, which I am as well. So I wanted to say that to her, like the people who brought you into the world, like really love movies.
Aww.
And he's just very, very positive and happy. So what you do then is you go to your basket, you put it in your basket, and you pay the extortionate amount of money for a vial of sperm. And then you just pick the clinic that you are working with, or you're doing your IVF with, and they just send it directly there.
So they have your egg, and they
not at this point.
Okay.
So they get the sperm first.
Okay.
And then once they have the sperm, then they'll be like, okay, now we'll get you into treatment. So you go for scans. You get injections. I'm trying to remember the chronological order. You definitely have to have hormones. So you get tablets to stop you from ovulating because they want you to ovulate at a certain time.
Okay.
So that kind of stops your ovulation, and it kind of thickens your lining. So the injections are kind of to make your ovaries go overload. So you basically have loads of eggs being developed out the one cycle, because usually you do have a few follicles, I think, each month, but only one of them will release an egg. But this is like trying to get as many eggs as possible. So you're injecting yourself, was that like twice a day, those ones? And you're taking a tablet once a day, or maybe that's three times a day. So you're on like a lot of stuff. I didn't get any bad reactions. I wasn't really overly sensitive or moody or anything like that. So I had a good experience with it. It was just sometimes they were painful. You know, they're injections it's like in the fat part of your. So you put it on your thighs, or you can put it in your belly, like wherever there was like thick like fat. You can't put it on like your arm or anything because it's just too thin. Yeah. But some of them get no pain. Some of them, it was like really sore.
Wow.
And then what happens?
And you didn't tell any of us that you were, because she just came one day and was just like, pregnant. Yeah. And I was like, I just thought like maybe was there a one-nighter, you know, because you hadn't said beforehand, but I can't believe you were going through all this by yourself. It was so funny
because I was visiting one of our friends who had a baby, and I had to take the injections at certain times every day, and I remember going out to my car and taking my injection and went back into it.
And were you, during that stage, how were you feeling emotionally? Were you excited, or were you like nervous and anxious, or like what were you thinking?
I think I was more excited.
Okay.
I don't think I was ever anxious or nervous or anything.
And how did you keep it to yourself?
Well, I had my sister, so I was talking to her about it. But I was also kind of like the drama, so I couldn't wait to tell people. And people were like, "What? How?" So I was kind of excited about that.
Oh, it was such a big moment. I remember finding that. I was so happy for you because, like going through a loss and then going into this. Did that shape your experience? Yeah,
it would have, because obviously I was worried before when I was pregnant before, because I've heard so many people who have had losses, and a lot of people that I like are quite close to. So it was always in the back of my head, even the first time. And then unfortunately I did have a loss. So, you know, when I got pregnant, I was excited, but I wasn't too excited, you know, and because like with the IVF, the clinic does an early scan. So about 6 or 7, maybe 8 weeks, they do a scan. And even with that scan, I was very nervous for that scan. I think I was like nearly shaking. But when I saw, you know, there was a heartbeat and everything, I still didn't get any reassurance because I got that far with my previous baby and I saw the heartbeat and everything. And usually when you see the heartbeat, it's very unlikely that you lose it. So to me, it gave me the reassurance, okay, the baby's in the right place, there's a heartbeat, okay, fine. But I need to get to the 12-week. And I did get a bit emotional when I got to 12 weeks and the baby was, you know, there and, you know, happy and whatever. But again, I've had friends who has lost babies like further down the line than that. And so I think only when I got to the 3rd trimester is when I relaxed because I could feel her.
I remember that. You had a huge bump and it was the first time I feel like you were actually... I'm pregnant. Like, I'm pregnant. That you were kind of like, this is happening. Do you know what I mean?
I enjoyed it more in the 3rd trimester because I could feel her, you know, like, especially like the 2nd trimester, you do get the kicks and things like that, but it can be very sporadic. Yeah. Whereas it was every day in the 3rd trimester and it were proper kicks. So that's when I relaxed a lot because I could feel her every day. Yeah. But yeah, no, it did definitely shape it because I didn't feel connected to the pregnancy for a long time.
What was your favourite and least favourite part of being pregnant?
Well, in fairness, I did actually love being pregnant, even though, like, you know, sometimes I did worry. I tried to put it back in my mind because I was like, because I didn't do any extra scans with this pregnancy. The other one, I did 2 extra scans. I was like, there's no point. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I tried to relax, but like, you know, I just didn't feel like too excited until I knew everything was going to be okay.
That's good. Like being like, it's one of the things they say is like to be as relaxed as possible. It's very hard.
Like my favourite thing about being pregnant was the bump.
It was such a nice bump.
Yeah, like it was just I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it because I've always been slim, you know, in my body type. No, I haven't been like skinny, but I've, you know,
you were always very slim, like very.
But so I thought I was really, really going to struggle with it, but I absolutely loved it. Even when I was like massive at the end, like I still like, you know, I thought it was really, really nice. And the kicks, I always loved the kicks. Didn't like the hiccups, but I liked the kicks. And I guess There's not actually many things I didn't like about being pregnant. I guess I got a bit of back pain, which I didn't enjoy, and then the reflux. Reflux was not fun.
With your birth, we don't have to go into the birth because birth is hard to talk about. Yeah. But your birth partner was your sister.
My sister, yeah.
So, yeah, like, you know, if you're going to go for it without a baby daddy involved, pick like your closest person. And like a lot of people, even if they are having a baby with a man, will still like bring their mother or their best friend or their sister, like even still. Yeah.
Me and my sister can clash at times. Now we haven't really very recently, but like especially when we were younger, and you know we were going to be in a very stressful situation. Yeah. I was actually terrified of like having my sister there because I thought I was going to be snapping at her and she's going to snap at me, and it's like that's not the experience that I wanted. So I originally kind of wanted my mom. But because my sister went through everything with me with the IVF and being such a support, you know, it was kind of just a given that she was going to be my partner. But I was stressing about it. But she ended up being absolutely fantastic. She was like my best cheerleader I could have had. And now she did find things a bit traumatic, but she didn't like show it at the time. She was completely just like, you can do this and everything. But then afterwards, I think she needed a moment. Yeah. So my sister had said to the midwives that like, oh, I'm so glad this isn't me. You know, she was all really happy. And then the midwives turned to her and says, it's going to be so much worse watching your sister go through it. And she didn't believe them. Now she does.
But just like, looking at this absolutely perfect human baby that you've created.
And she is perfect.
She is perfect. But no matter how perfect your baby is, your life is so different in the first few months after a baby that no matter how much you want the baby, like you wanted this baby so bad that you spent a lot of money to make sure that this baby came into the world, and it still isn't a huge shock to the system.
Yeah, like that's one thing that I didn't even understand before I had her, because there were some people that I know who would like really, really badly always wanted to have kids, blah blah blah, and then they finally had a kid, and you know they would say, "Oh, this is so hard," or complain about things, and in my head I would be like, come on, like you wanted this, you know, whatever. And I was very like, I know that's not really great of me to have those
Everyone
thoughts,
has thoughts, you know, like that though.
But then I had a child and I realized, okay, now I get it, because like it is hard, but like you don't know until you have it, and like you think, okay, all I have to do is like feed her, you know, change her nappy, you know, make sure she sleeps, and like all those things individually,
that's fine.
They're easy tasks technically, you know, but it's just all day, every day, relentless. And then my baby had colic and reflux and screaming all the time, and it's just so much that your body can take. So like, so please be kind to people who, you know, have struggled to have a baby and then they did have a baby and then they complain, because it's nice. There is good points as well, but sometimes you just need to have that time to vent and, you know, say how hard things are. Because I wish I'd known how hard it actually was. So people they just say the generic, oh, it's hard, but they don't go into detail.
It's very hard to explain it, because even in your own head, you're kind of like, why am I struggling so much? You start thinking, oh, I'm just shit at this, or and then I don't know, with me, I remember I just kept going back to like, it's not meant to be like this, there's meant to be so many more people around, and like I kept just romanticizing decades ago when they all had like 10 siblings each, and there was just so many aunties and cousins and everyone around helping and taking turns and stuff. But doing that didn't help. Like doing that just made me more frustrated and angry. And I remember as well feeling like an absolute arsehole having those thoughts, and then friends like you know, or other friends who like lost babies, people who are like at a point where they're like, I don't know if I'll ever get to have a child, people like you going through this to like have their own child. I didn't want to then be like, you've been great. I've just been sniffing her all day. She smells so good. But I just did not want to be complaining about the thing that my friends all are dying to do, because ultimately, like, you know, there's so many lovely, beautiful parts of it. But for me, I didn't really love it until each of my babies was like over 1 or 2. Like, I'm not a baby person, I'm a kid person, I'm a toddler person. What I want to know is so obviously you were talking about just it being hard and everything like that, but you have no one around 24/7 to like hand the baby to.
Yeah.
So if you want to paint a picture of what a day is like without a partner with a baby, and anything, anything that people should know or should consider.
It's a long day with a baby anyway. Like everyone who has a child will know that. People who, even if they have partners is away for most of the day. But when you don't have a partner, it is extra hard because, my baby had colic and was screaming from, the evening time. And I always found that time the hardest. And there was no one else to kind of tag team with that. Usually about 5 o'clock is when it would start. And that's usually when, a partner would come home and help you out with the baby. So it was hard because, even when you wanted to 5 minutes to yourself, just because they're screaming in your face and you don't want to obviously project that onto the baby, you want to go to another room, kind of get your frustrations out and then go back. But if you're putting the baby down, the baby is still going to be crying. It's not like you can hand it to someone else and they're trying to soothe the baby and, the baby's
while you have a break.
Yeah, while you have a break. So, like, I'd have to put her in the bassinet and go to another room and try and calm down. But I can hear her still crying, so it's still, like, agitating me. So that was, like, quite hard. Now, luckily, I did have my sister who was fantastic and she came over as often as she could. She came over every morning for the first while and just straight... Before I even got out of bed, she would take the baby downstairs and I'd be able to do little bits in the morning, which was really, really helpful. But like there was days where she couldn't come. She has 3 kids herself. So those days she couldn't come. And those days I really felt it. Like I really felt like, oh, I have to do all this stuff or try and work around the baby to try and get all this stuff still done because it still needs to be done. Like cleaning up, like I used to give her a bottle at night time, like of expressed milk. And to clean all the stuff, I had to have my breakfast, but I couldn't put her down. So I had to work out how I was going to do that. So it was intense, yeah. And then it was, like I said, it's a very long day with a baby. If you have no one else to interact with, you just feel like the day's never going to end. Especially when you're not in a routine in the first few weeks and months, you don't really have a routine. Like luckily now I have a routine. It's still difficult, to fill all the time. But it's a lot more easy because at this time, great, she's going to go down for a nap and then, we're going to do bath time routine at this time, so it's a lot more easier when you have a routine, but it's still, it's difficult not being able to have someone else, even just around to interact with, that's why I find that going to my sister's, even if she's not taking the baby, just to sit there and just be in a different environment, it's easier. It makes the time go faster. And in the first few weeks, like I said, I had things lined up. I went to see Melanie. I went, my mom was there with me. I had a friend stay. But then I had to get to the point where I was like, I need to expand my social network because, I can't ask the same people over and over again because they have their own lives, they have their own children, they have,
You did a lot of travelling. Like you went to weddings. I went to 2
weddings.
I didn't leave the house when I had a baby. Like I was so impressed with Sarah.
Yeah. When she was 6 weeks, I went on a road trip around Ireland to all my family because she was particularly bad with her colic and I just couldn't cope. So I basically one of my aunties offered to have me up. So I decided I'm going to ask everyone else along the way if I could, because it was a long trip to my auntie's house. So I basically just went to different houses and they helped me. So I think that's the most important thing if you're doing by yourself. Make sure you have a good support network that, you can go and stay with other people. I was really lucky with my maternity leave that I can take the full year, but a lot of it was savings as well. So some of it, like my maternity, I won't be paid for. But I did, because I was doing IVF, I could plan this. So I had planned this for a year and saved for a year to basically fund my maternity. So I'm able to go here, there and everywhere. Some people might not be as privileged as that. I might have to go back to work a lot sooner than that. But when you are on your, especially, I think, for the first 3 months, you have to have something in place, I think. It gets slightly easier. Then you still need to be around people after that, but I think the first 3 months, you need somebody. Because they're all babies, even if they have colic or not colic, there is the witching hour, and it does last until about 3 to 4 months. And they get easier then, slightly. Now, people still can have problems, obviously it's not set in stone, but... I from when she was like 10, 11 weeks, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could finally breathe. I could put her down without her screaming.
She had loads of that.
Yeah!
Having to breastfeed a baby without kind of a partner. Sounds mental. Yeah, Sarah is currently mixing breast milk with formula, trying to get her onto formula, and
I wish you could see how beautiful she is. I just don't want her online, but she's so beautiful.
she is.
Yeah, I've been trying to get her onto dairy-free formula, and she didn't really take much yesterday, so I thought it was maybe the flavour. So the fact that she's taken a lot more than she did yesterday, it's like, there's hope. There's hope. But that's the thing, they're trying to navigate things by yourself. You know, you've no one else to, like, okay, but this, you know, a man probably wouldn't know either, or a partner wouldn't know either how to do this, like, for the best. But, like, you know, if she's not well, or I think she's not well, I've no one to bounce off the idea. Like, oh, do you think she has this? Or do you think, and you're just Googling things. And I do have
even just with getting to the doctor. It's just, like, you know, like every little thing that, like, you know, a lot of people, oh, there you go, good woman. That a lot of people will be like, you know, you just need, you feel like you need help.
Yeah.
You know, in those moments. But yeah, that mammy chat has been absolutely, even for everyone else, but like you,
so we have we have a mammy chat with all of our friends, and it's been so helpful since I've had because, you know, I've no one, like I said, I've no one to bounce off this idea, like, oh, this rash, does this look like it's just like a heat rash or whatever. So I'm able to post things in our, like, it's a group of our friends, we post in, and like someone always has an like experience of the same thing, so you're getting a lot of like, oh, you could do this, and a lot of advice and things like that, and it's been so helpful. So like everyone else in the chat has partners and stuff, so it doesn't have to be like a single mam's chat. So if you are thinking about, you know, becoming a single parent, you know, and you have friends who have babies, create a chat. It's like the best thing in the world. Like, I have posted everything, and it also helped let out my frustrations as well, because again, I had no partner to be like, this is so hard, like, isn't, like, you know, and you know, what can I do to make this kind of better and things like that. So I was completely open and honest with all my friends, and you know, I was in the hospital like sending voice notes and messages all the time going, oh my god, she's not sleeping, or she's like this and that, and they were like so reassuring. People would then private message me and, you know, just saying how are you getting on and checking in on me, and it was really, really good. So I think one of the things, I suppose, is you feel like you have to be in this lovely mammy bubble and, you know, this newborn like euphoria and stuff like that, but it's not always like that. And some people do get that. I didn't, and maybe that's because I was on my own and I had to do everything. So don't feel like you can't talk about these things with your closest friends, because I think you need to let that out, because it made me feel so much better, because then all my other friends were like, oh yeah, I felt like this, and I got really upset, and I found it really hard. And it's just like, oh, I thought you were just in this bubble and you were all happy all the time. So it is really reassuring to have that. So I would definitely recommend that.
In terms of the future, so you are going back to work when you're a year into postpartum, and yeah, so how do you envision the next like 5 years in terms of just like your schedule and childminding and dating? And a lot of people were asking about that. Like, do you want to ever, like, for someone to kind of adopt her, like get married again, like, or do you want to get with someone who has kids already? Or
I don't know what it's going to be like, obviously, but like some people, there's one person that I told when I was doing this, you know, I told him before I actually got pregnant that I wanted to do IVF, and he kind of said it something like, oh, don't give up on love or men. And I was like, well, I'm not. Like, I'm just putting that to the side. So people just like I was just like, oh, no one's going to give me a baby, so I'm just going to do it myself. And, I'm never going to find love. That wasn't why I did it. Like, I solely believe that I'm going to find love one day. And I really, really want that. But it was more so, unfortunately, women have like a ticking clock. And I was ready to be a mom. So I was like, to me, I wouldn't want to go my whole life without having a child. And I only have a limited time to do that. I mean, I do want to have a partner, but I could find love at 50 or 60, Yeah. I can't have a baby at that age. So it was just putting that part of my dreams, I guess, aside to have this beautiful dream. But yeah, no, I definitely do want to be dating and things like that. So I don't know how it's going. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot more. Getting to the point where I do want to, like, find someone. I know I'm not technically ready yet, but my mind is starting to get ready. So I'm trying to navigate that in my head, like how do I go on a date with a baby? I've got my sister who can babysit, but like, but if I'm going to a date in, like, let's say Northern Ireland, I have to come all the way down here so you can babysit. And then, when you're first dating someone, you want to see them often, but I also don't want to introduce them to my child until
I can come up and stay over.
Yeah, grand.
Yeah, like anyone who has navigated that, because I'd say that'd be hard, is like, when do I introduce them?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and like there's only so many things I could do, so it'll have to be nighttime things when my sister is free. But like if I want to, you know, when you're excited about someone, if I have friends and I'm really like, you want to see each other like a few times a week, how do I navigate that, you know? So I don't know yet. Maybe when she's a bit older, she could go for like a week down to her grandparents, or, you know, to my cousins or to nannies, where she's like not so dependent on me. But yeah, I don't know how that's going to look. But I do definitely want to have a partner. And I do want, you know, I really would like, it doesn't have to be a father figure, because I am bisexual, so a woman is fine as well. But I do want her to have that other parent.
Yeah.
Because she basically, to me, it feels like she has half a family. But I'm also have to be very careful who I introduce into my life. So that's another thing but I think it'll help. I think it'll help me wean out the people who are just wasting my time.
Yes, like straight away you'll be just kind of like, no time for time wasters. Like any red flag, you'll be running the opposite direction straight away. So it probably will help you to meet someone who is a right fit faster.
Yeah. But it also will hinder things as well, because I know it's a lot to ask. It's like, it's not just me that you'll be dating, you know, you'll be having a daughter that you'd have to take on as well. So it will be hard for, you know, when you get introduced to people, because even if they do like me, it is kind of just like I've got to think about this now, you know, rather than just being like, oh, we'll see how things go. But like, people have to think about it more seriously. So I know it might hinder some things that might be more difficult, but if you really like someone, you won't care.
Yeah.
And it might be that I end up with another single parent, because then we'll be in the same wavelength. We'll know exactly where we're both at, and we'll know the struggles. So it could be that as well. But, you know, I'm not trying to rush into things. I like to meet someone naturally. I'm not really an app person.
What I do think you have in your favour, apart from being very, very attractive, just the fact that like that you did this by yourself. You don't have the kind of, not that it's baggage, but, you know, a lot of people get very intimidated by an ex being involved in your life. When I was a kid, my mom remarried, and, you know, he took on my mom and 2 children, and, you know, her ex-husband, who had to be around every week outside the house and stuff. That's some people that find that I'll overload. So I think, when you've done that yourself, and it's just like a clean, you know, I think that is definitely going to help. But even when there is an ex, it happens. It happened in my family. I know loads of people who have, you know, gotten with someone and like, they have an ex-wife or an ex-husband and kids, and like that happens all the time. I remember I saw something anyway about like the dating pool, and, you know, when you're like, all the good ones are gone at this time, blah, blah, blah. But like, I remember thinking about my dad, like my mum and my dad obviously didn't work out, but my dad's like one of my favourite people in the world, and he was single when he was 33. Like that's when their marriage they broke up. And like, imagine thinking that about him, like, just because his marriage didn't work out, that he's just, you know what I mean? It's like people come back on the market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the good ones come back on the market.
Yeah, but that's what I think, because it is slim pickings that so far that I've looked. Every person I'm even slightly attracted to, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a girlfriend or a wife, or like kids, and like, oh, okay. And you do feel kind of like deflated, and like, oh, there's nobody there. But like you said, people do come back on the market. Things don't work out. You know, we're in that kind of society now where it's like, if I'm not happy, I don't have to put up with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is hope. But like, especially when you have a child, it's like, how will I meet someone? You know, I go to mums and tots groups. There's gonna be, well, there could be like a single mother there, but like, you know, it's probably very unlikely. So yeah, it's just finding ways to meet people naturally.
Is there any apps that are specifically for, you know, if you are a single parent?
Yeah, there is. But like, I'm not into apps.
Yeah.
I really am trying to avoid it to my death. If I have to, I will go on it, but I have always been about the story. Like, I've always like loved movies, writing, books, all that kind of stuff. And I've always been so into stories. And like my mom, even when she says about how her and my dad met, like, I love listening to that. And I don't want it to be, hey, I met your dad or mom on an app. The end. Like, it's just, to me, like, even if it was like met in the app, but then things didn't click, and then we met in a bar, and then things did click, you know, that would be even a better story, you know. It's just, to me, I just can't. I'm nothing against people who meet on apps. I think it's like fantastic. It's great for people who like find it hard to go out and just meet people or whatever. There's no qualms with that at all. I have many friends who've met on apps, and with the fantastic people, but it's just, for me, it doesn't feel right. So I'm not trying to diss apps at all. They are really good.
having gone through this insane ride, would you do it again? Would you do it again with or without someone, or are you kind of just like shelving that decision right now?
Definitely shelving it. I definitely, at the moment, I'm thinking, although, like, I love my daughter and, you know, we're going to be best friends, like, I don't think I could do it alone again. And I think that's also because of having her and then another one on my own, I think would be too much. You know, I'm getting to a place where it's like, okay, yeah, I've done that, like the really, like a really hard bit, and I'm feeling a bit more like, oh yeah, I can do this, and I'm doing a good job, and you know, I'm feeling more positive about it. But doing it again on my own with another child, I don't think, I think it would be very, very hard, and I still believe in love, and so I really want to have the experience of having a baby with somebody else, someone that I love, and we, you know, there's someone else connected to that child. But at the moment, I'm just like, I'm happy with the child I have. I'm like, I just want to enjoy her, and then, you know, we'll see down the line what happens. But I do want her to have a sibling. So even though I found it very tough, you know, giving birth and the first 3 months with her, I think I ultimately will have another one at some point, hopefully with somebody else, but we will see.
I see that happening, definitely. But yeah, my kids are obsessed with this child, so they can be her,
Especially
like
Pan.
Yeah, he is. He's every day that is in the lead up to you coming over, he's just constantly asking about it. Like when she's here, he just sits inches from her face constantly. They will act as brother and sister to her anyway. I know that there is a societal stigma when it comes to this, and people have all kinds of opinions and thoughts or whatever. Did that ever come into your head, or were you just kind of like...
Everyone I know knew how much I wanted a child, and everyone knew that, like, I'd lost a child as well. So when I told them I was pregnant, everyone thought it was fantastic. Everyone was like really happy, especially people that I was close to. So I almost had people saying, like, good on you. Like, I got a handshake from my brother going, like, that's great that you're not just doing the traditional, you know, have to have a partner, have to do this. And he was like, you just went for what you wanted. Now, sometimes I personally, when I'm, you know, someone might ask, like, oh, like, does your partner, you know, look like her or whatever? And, you know, I kind of have to explain, like, oh, it's an IVF baby. And I still get like, oh, good job, whatever. But it's kind of like sometimes a bit like, oh, I wonder what they're actually thinking. Or, you know, sometimes it makes me a little sad because it's like, I wish there was someone else connected to her. But, like, I don't feel like I'm being judged. Like, I don't feel like everyone's kind of like, oh, you probably should have waited to have a partner, or like, oh, like, you know, I don't get those looks. You know, I do get a lot of people just saying, like, you're very, very brave. And yeah, and like encouraging me, and like, and then people will say, oh yeah, well, I know someone who actually did that herself, and say, oh yeah, a lot more people are doing that. You know, it's kind of like more encouraging. So I didn't get any like bad vibes from anybody. If anything, I just hope that this video gave some of you a bit of clarity or a little bit of insight into it, especially if you know someone who went through it, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you've not kind of checked in with them. Please do, because yeah, all mothers, especially if they're going it alone, need as much help as possible in the first few months especially, but even the first year and a half is a lot. And I think you're just doing a great job. She's so happy. She's the happiest little button. And she wasn't always.
Yeah, thanks for being on my channel.
No problem, thanks for having me.
We are going to go to a birthday party now and bring our kiddies and have some cake and go on a bouncy castle, and yeah, it's great when all your friends start having kiddies. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, if you know anyone who might benefit from hearing someone talk about this topic, please send it to them, because I know, yeah, there's not many people who are kind of willing to talk about this openly, so I am very proud of you for sharing that. And I'm gonna go now. Bye. Bye, guys. Why did I do that?